Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and I have handled well over 1,000 new knife releases this year. But which ones were the best? In my opinion, at least, these are my favorite new knives that were released in 2024. Let's check them out. So after handling so many new knives this year, the stuff on the table in front of me right now are the things that really rose above the rest and kind of, they're the ones I still think about, the ones I remember, and that says something. Before we get into the categories, however, I will lay out a caveat. Folks know I released my first production collaboration this year, the Pocket Tango. I'm going to completely ignore that for the purposes of this video in order to try to remove that bit of bias. Pocket Tango, I love it. I think it's a great knife. You're not going to find it on this list. If you want to learn more about it, there's going to be a link to the video we did on it when it came out. That out of the way, let's take a look at some things. We're going to look at some fixed blades, some budget folders, mid-priced folders, and high-end folders as well, and pick some winners. Let's start though with the fixed blades. Pocket fixed blades are certainly in, and while this knife, the Boker BFF Packlight, is not instantly pocket ready, its sheath does not come with an attachment. If you throw an ulti-clip on there, it's a great pocket fixed blade. But these represent a really great value for a MagnaCut made, or MagnaCut steel fixed blade. Starts for skeletonized versions about 93 bucks, 120 for Richlight, about 130 for this walnut wood version right here. 2.62 inch blade, awesome little drop point, just a fantastic, useful shape. It's still going to carry nice and slim, so campers and hikers will like it. Everyday carry enthusiasts will like it. It's made in Germany, made in the Solingen factories, I believe, from Boker, and it's just an excellent design and worth taking a look at. I think the newest budget pocket fixed blade to beat right now is the Kaiser Muskrat. And I don't have one on the table in front of me, so we're gonna have to rely on B-roll for this one. But this is a great value for a small pocket fixed blade knife. Just under 50 bucks at the starting point with G10 or micarta handles. Wood options are gonna become available. Nicely done Kydex sheath with a clip. The design is just spot on. The angles and the ergonomics just do it for me, and the price is undeniable, especially with that Kaiser quality. Take a look at that as well. For more premium pocket fixed blade versions, this is the last pocket fixed blade in the fixed blade section, I promise. The straight line EDC Alley and Ernie just recently hit our site and already are becoming a quick point of comparison. The knives themselves are cool. They start at about 150 bucks. You've got M390 with 2 3/4 inch blades, the two shapes as you can see. Various handle colors available. The cool thing on them too, that you don't see often on production knives, you've even got a tapered tang here, which is a cool touch. It helps the balance of the knife, yet you've still got plenty of handle to hold on to. And then the sheath is what really sets these apart from the other pocket fixed blade competition. Now we've seen these ambidextrous magnetic flap pocket sheaths before, but this one goes a step further. Not only can you slip the sheath into your pocket and have the magnetic flap hold it into place, giving you access to the handle above your pocket hem, this one has a second magnet to allow a deeper carry position. If you slide that flap up, the handle will sit completely deep in your pocket and will be a lot more incognito, if you will. Really cool innovation, really cool, just kind of furtherance of the pocket fixed blade genre that makes it absolutely worthy of discussion. Next up, we've got an outdoor carving knife, essentially. The Condor Combo Puko, coming in about 76 bucks and some change. 3-inch blade, narrow tapering profile with a Scandi grind and a full handle. This is a great feeling carver or small bushcraft knife. Not necessarily the most modern feeling product, but when you want to graduate above like the Mora knife stuff and get into some nicer feeling versions of this type of thing, there's not a lot in between those inexpensive Moras and the more premium fixed blade options out there. So I'm super happy to see Condor still holding the day with products like this. Micarta handles feel great, the ergonomics are great, the blade is going to be a perfect campfire tool that I am super happy to see around. 1075 carbon steel, I believe, on this one, which makes it field expedient to resharpen and very tough, especially appreciated with something like that Scandi grind right there. Next up, the Kershaw Step. You folks thought it was awesome too because you bought all the stuff off of our shelf on filming day here. 45 bucks for a great all-around shape. Not just as an outdoor knife, which could certainly do the job, but also a pretty decent everyday carry. 3.5-inch blade with D2 tool steel, injection molded handles, but balanced, ergonomic, quick in the hand, and very sharp out of the box, and comes with a great sheath out of the box as well. Can suit it to inside the waistband carry, even pocket carry, a bit big for that, but you could do it. And then you've got the versatility of holes and slots to rig up pretty much any aftermarket solution that you can think of. Next up, the Kaiser Militaw fixed blade. This version right here with S35 VNs coming in about $156, but the base version is about $68 with the Nitro V blade. And this is sort of a good all-around fixed blade with a bit more of a premium feel. You could apply it to an outdoor knife, to a tactical or self-defense knife, or just a, on the larger side but still manageable everyday carry. Blade is about 3.8 inches long. The drop point is versatile. You've got a stylish handle with the signature Militaw inlays right here, but an adaptable shape. It's going to work in a lot of different grips, no problem. It's going to angle forward quite nicely thanks to that prominent finger guard or finger groove right there. Reverse grips and inverted grips work nicely too. Just a really cool and compelling package overall. I hope they do even more versions of this in the next years to come. Sheath is Kydex. You've got a 2-row dots style attachment there on the back. Just a really, really sweet, complete package. All right, last up, we've got 2 knives, and I'm having trouble deciding which of them should take the crown for the best fixed blade this year. They hit at 2 different price points, but they're both pretty great. I'm gonna go ahead and, against my better judgment, I'm gonna give this section a tie, perhaps. We'll see. The QSP Canary, the larger fixed blades that were released this year, have quickly become a go-to recommendation for anyone who needs an affordable, hard-use outdoor knife, whether it's survival, bushcraft, camping, yada, yada, yada. The Canary fixed blades are great. You've got a tough carbon steel, you've got roomy handles with micarta or G10 options, prices at about $62, and a fantastic Kydex sheath with a great belt attachment mechanism to go along with it. Tons of quality, tons of capability at this price point, which is very cool. However, they're not going to quite equal the niceness that you're going to find with this last knife, the Civivi Cloud Peak. This is an awesome knife. $119, 4.6-inch Nitro V blade, custom level feeling handle right here. We've got G10 on this one. It is contoured. You've got a full tang. You've got the nickel bolster right here. The ergonomics are great. It carries like classic Bob Loveless style vibes without actually replicating one of his designs. It's just fantastic. About the only thing it's missing would be a tapered tang, which again, you don't really see that too often on production knives of any price. This is going to be a great all-around knife. Camping, hiking, hunting, anyone who needs a good barbecue knife, something to look good at the cookout. It's a fantastic package. Comes with a leather sheath right here. A few different handle colors can be had. I'm sorry, Canary, I'm going to break the tie. The Civivi is going to be the best fixed blade for me in terms of production releases in 2024. All right, on to the budget folders, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, first off, the Pyrite Lite. Coming in at 30 bucks with an injection molded handle. It has the same vibes as the alt-bladed Pyrite with the Wharncliffe blade. You've got a great everyday carry design, great button lock action, great steel with their spray-formed RPM 9 product here, which gives a great amount of performance, especially at that $30 price point. It is, however, just kind of a reworked version of a knife that was in contention for Knife of the Year a couple of years ago. So it's not going to win this year, but we had to mention it because the value is undeniable. Next up, I think the value on this knife is undeniable too. We've been talking about it for about a year because we first got them in January, the Petrified Fish Hourglass. This is a knife that feels like it should cost double, if not triple or more what it actually does. They start at 59 bucks. You've got titanium bolsters. This one is the sandalwood version. K110 name brand D2, 3.5-inch blade, and a striking, swooping design. It looks like $1 million bucks. Well, man, look, not quite $1 million, but it looks like a lot of bucks. It feels fantastic too. There is nothing, and I do mean nothing about this knife that would suggest that it is a just barely over $50 product. This feels like you could have spent a great deal of money and you would have still been happy with the quality you got here. Fantastic knife. In fact, I'm starting to think I should have put that a little further up the list of budget folders, but hey, it's the winner that matters in the end, right? Let's talk about Civivi again. They've got a lot of products this year between the $50 and $100 mark with aluminum handles, a button lock, and usually Nitro V steel or 14C28N actually, which you've got here on the Hyper Pulse. But other knives like the Storm Howl, the Star Flare, tons of products that fit those criteria, and they've all, I think, brought incredible value to the consumer. The Hyper Pulse right here is a 3.5-inch blade with 14C steel, $69 and some change. Really cool design, really useful design as well. Again, this list is based on kind of my personal preferences, which is why you're seeing a lot of drop points on the table. But kudos to Civivi for finding a kind of a hole, a niche, and really attacking it quite aggressively. I think you folks are getting some really great knives as a result. My favorite Civivi folder this year, however, was the HID, designed by Ostap Hill. This is about an $85 knife, and it's an everyday carry, or at least folding, food prep type of knife, which is a genre I just happen to love. You've got a over 4-inch Santoku style blade, 14C28N here as well. Plenty of offset with the G10 handle here rising above the edge, so you can do that cutting board stuff quite effectively. Beyond that, if you're not interested in this as a cooking type folder, it is a great bigger knife. The blade is still thin and it's very tall with that full flat grind as well on it. This is going to be great slicing geometry. You can get up close to it for detail work, no problem, thanks to this area around the pivot here. Overall, just a really, really sweet design, and it's the one I'm going to keep remembering more than any other Civivi after this year has passed. Again, at least for me personally. All right, this next knife has quickly become kind of my favorite big knife to recommend for the money. There's a lot of great big knives. Not a lot of them are as good as this, especially not that cost this type of money. And that is the Concept Knives Mikkel Wilhelmsen design Helix. Fantastic knife at $49. You've got a 3.6-inch blade, but it feels even bigger thanks to the broadness of it. D2 steel brings very respectable edge retention to the party. When you compare this to something like Civivi's Elementum, which is $50 or even a little bit more, with the same steel, G10 or micarta inlays or onlays like you have here, but a lot smaller, the value of this Helix really, really starts to come into focus. Despite the broadness of the blade, the handle is very manageable thanks to the tapering shape right here. Feels like you have absolute command over that knife itself. Button lock action is nice as well. Good flipping action, good finger safe closing action, which I always appreciate, especially on bigger knives or hard working knives. This is going to be a hard, big knife to beat. Next up, Rosecraft has been absolutely destroying the competition with their high quality slip joints, especially when you consider their value at the prices they're charging. This is my favorite one they've done yet, the Mosquito Lake Moose. I happen to like moose pattern knives in particular, thanks to their Nessmuck connections, which is another personal favorite of mine. $64 for this knife with bone handles, D2 steel for better edge retention than most slip joints, and the action is excellent on them. The walk and talk speaks loudly. The design on it is beautiful. No matter which blade is open, I love the curvature going on. Both blades half open, looks great. Not that you're gonna carry or use it like this, but we take photographs of knives here at the Knife Center as well, and it's a cool thing to see. It's just something that hits on all fronts for me. The quality is impeccable, the materials are great, and the price is astonishingly good. The winner, however, this year, in my opinion, for the best budget folders has to go to Real Steel, and I'm going to give it to them as a genre, as a brand, for their folded steel frame folders that they came out with this year. I can't really pick one over the other. They're all good, and it's the thing that has me most excited in the budget space for the products that are still to come as well. This is the thing, one of the things that gets me thinking, gets me excited. Let's start with the Sylph from Real Steel. $52 for these. 3.15-inch blade. We've got Nitro V steel, crown spine, folded steel frame as mentioned. That's going to be reliable long-term. It's going to be very durable and stable as you use it. And they've fitted a folded steel onlay on top of it as well. A few different color combinations can be had on this product to spice things up. It is a really sweet thing, especially at 52 bucks. It's slim in the pocket. Poltergeist Works design, as you can see from the logo there. Snaps open quite nicely. Just a truly impressive thing all around. Some of them, like especially the copper version, I think looks super classy. Or the copper anodized version. Just a lot of really great design going on. Next up, the Perix, another Ostap Hell design on the table. These start at 60 bucks with Nitro V blades. Different versions are available. Titanium is also available at a higher price point, and this features a crossbar lock with that folded steel frame. We saw this on the Sacra a little bit before, came out prior to this year, but this is the year that they're really leaning into this style of construction, which is just extra cool. And I liked this knife when it came out, but it's been growing on me even more and more. It's got a really nice profile. The action is excellent as well. It just works. 3.5 inch, narrow enough shape to be very agile, thin enough to be slicey. Not the sliciest in the world, but certainly good performance there. Wire pocket clip, tail mounted, or actually inside the scale mounted. So it's very deep carry and very classy when seen from the outside, when seen in the pocket. Just a really, really well done design. And the last example happens to be the least expensive example. And if I had to bring it down to one winner, this might be it. It's the Iris. It comes with a flipper or a front flipper, with, depending on which version you like, and multiple handle variations. $32 for this knife. And this is going to be a hard knife to not recommend for folks who just need a basic pocket knife. The folded steel construction here is going to make it super reliable, especially over the long term. That's going to be super nice. The handle carries slim enough in the pocket to be very useful and very easy for folks to carry. The blade, Sandvik 12C27 steel, just under 3 inches with a full flat grind. It's just a ultimately reliable and dependable package. Doesn't try to be over the top. It just tries to be an honest pocket knife. And this knife hits that in a way that few other things do nowadays. The action is quite good. You do have ball bearings in the pivot. You've got a liner lock for security, wire pocket clip for right side carry. Just such a clean profile when closed too. I love it. It is a very awesome, I think very underappreciated knife, and I think you should check it out. That's the winner. Real Steel's the winner, but the Iris above all will probably take the cake. Now moving on to mid-tier folders, we're gonna start with Vostede. And they, I think, are like the brand to watch right now. They are doing some good budget stuff, but they're really starting to encroach on the mid-tier stuff in pretty aggressive and pretty compelling fashion. The first we'll talk about, because I'm gonna talk about a few, the Schillen cutter is the only one I have on the table in front of me, because you folks think they're cool too. Bit of a running theme here. These are about 109 bucks, 3-inch 154 cm blade, and the Vancor lock. This button lock, essentially, but you press around the pivot to actuate the action. I like button locks. I like the finger safe closing action of them. You've got 3 methods for deployment on this: flipper tab, thumb studs, and front flipper, which I'm not the best at front flippers, so apologies to Vostede. This is a cool knife. I especially wanted to talk about the Martin, however. Again, you've kind of bought us out on a filming day right here. They're at 99 bucks, so you know, just under that $100 mark. 3-inch 154 cm blade with their take on a button actuated compression style lock. They can't use compression lock as the name because Spyderco owns that name, but that is an awesomely designed everyday carry folder. The materials are spot on with the aluminum and the 154 cm. They feel a bit more premium. They're put together to a really high degree of precision, and I really appreciate that. They're really going for it with the locking mechanisms, both the Vancor lock and whatever we want to call that lock style. Also the parallel they released this year, the ultra slim folder they did. Fantastic. They're really pushing the envelope, and you should definitely be keeping your eyes on Vostede in this price range of things, especially in 2025. Next up, we have the least expensive Riot knife that has been released in the PLXT. These start around $112. 3-inch Nitro V blade, G10 handles, and another kind of button style lock, but you push right on the pivot area right there. So it has the same benefits of a button lock, but you got that bad boy going on. You've got a secondary safety, as you can see right there. So if you're worried about accidentally disengaging the lock in use, you got that backup peace of mind. And this is a knife that feels like it could work pretty hard. In fact, it is maybe a little bit chunky for its size. I can't help but think this is going to be a better lock on a larger knife, perhaps. It does feel like it could do some work, but it feels a little too thick for its own good, which is why it's not further up on the list. Still worthy of talking about, however. Speaking of bigger knives, the Viper Safe Liner Lock has finally landed recently, and this is a ton of value for the size, especially 3 3/4 inch M390 blade, thick enough to really beat on full flat grind to keep things slicey enough. $167 for this burlap micarta version, and they start around $165 for standard micarta. So great value for a big M390 blade like this to begin with. Add in the Safe Liner Lock here, it's even more compelling. How it works is before you can actually disengage the quote-unquote liner lock, you have to pull this little switch down. And it's a very fluid thing. Once you know that it's there and you know you've gotten used to operating it, you can do it with your thumb in one very fluid motion, as you could see right there. So it's extra degrees of safety without actually like getting in the way. Really cool innovation, really cool added safety, really comfortable and powerful feeling big knife as well. So it all comes together in a great package. Next up, the Chavez Blue Label line, which comprises a bunch of different models brought down to a lower price point than the previous Chavez factory-made editions, which were a fair bit more expensive. This one is the Redemption 229 and is my favorite, coming in at 180 bucks, 3.5 inch L-Max blade, thinner than the M390 blades of the bigger versions or the more expensive versions. Thinner handles as well. Instead of a frame lock, you've got a liner lock with micarta for scales on the in and out. And you've got both pocket clips still. You've got the skull pocket clip in addition to this more plain pocket clip. If I were buying a Chavez right now, this would be the one I would buy because I think the value is the best, first of all. But I think in use, out of any factory-made Chavez, these blue labels are going to be a lot more satisfying to use, at least for me, the kind of performance that I prioritize. These are going to slice better. With L-Max steel, you've got plenty of edge retention, and that thinner blade stock, you've got just a greater feeling of performance. The handles are also slimmer without giving up that rock-solid feel that the full frame lock Chavezes are known for. I just think they're super compelling. The price is great. The materials are spot on for the price point as well. Those of you who watched our most popular new knives of 2024 a few weeks ago will know that this knife right here was the best seller for the year in terms of new releases. And this happens to be an area where my personal opinion, I happen to agree with you folks who voted for your dollars. The most compelling mid-sized or mid-tier knife of the year is the Kershaw Bel Air. Hands down, not even close. Why? Well, it feels like the perfect knife for the times, both in terms of value, design, and materials. This is a $150 US made knife, Magna Cut blade just over 3 inches long, nice and slim for great slicing, very acute tip for piercing, and thanks to the toughness of the Magna Cut, this thin and pointy geometry is going to stand up a little better, which is a really nice thing. Handles are slim aluminum. You've got a deep carry pocket clip. You've got the crossbar lock, which is just working great. This version right here at 150 started things. This is the knife that kicked off the Bel Air's march to success. My personal favorite is the new carbon fiber version, which is my favorite just because I happen to like an uncoated blade generally. This is 195 though. The carbon fiber is more expensive than the aluminum. No matter which one you pick, hard to go wrong with the Bel Air for just a genuinely useful, not trying to be anything else but a pocket knife. All right, now we come to the premium side of things, and this is where things get a little bit tough for me because I genuinely find like mid-price and budget price stuff more interesting because it's harder to do a good knife when you are constrained by money. If cost is no object, you can do a lot of amazing stuff, but it doesn't feel as amazing, if that makes sense. So what I'd like to show you are some things that again, I remember, the things that stuck out to me as doing something a little bit different, a little bit more special than the other stuff. I'll show you an example first of what I'm talking about on the opposite side. We Knife Company does phenomenal premium folders. This Zinta right here is a perfect example. Integral construction, about 412 bucks, 4-inch M390 blade. There's not a thing out of place on this knife. Everything is perfectly dialed in, well considered, but so is the next knife they did and the last knife they did. So it gets harder for them to kind of separate themselves from the pack, if you know what I mean. Phenomenal knife. I'm probably not gonna be thinking about it in 5 years' time. What are some things I might be thinking about? Well, here we go. Another knife from We Knife Company, ironically, the Tyro. And this one is a bit different. We've got Snex's Super Lock, first of all, and this is a Snex Tan design. So it's not a frame lock like a lot of premium folders. It is also the first premium Super Lock knife or like the best version of an EDC ready Super Lock equipped premium knife that I might actually carry. There's a lot of caveats in there. We saw them use this lock a couple years ago on the Vision R, but you had some weird details like a tail-mounted or a spine-mounted pocket clip that made it a little funky, and a cool shape and cool design. In fact, that's why we like the Civivi version of that so much. But this one right here, you got a 3-inch blade of 20 CV starting at $230, or this Damasteel version, jumping things up to about $570. But it's got a great everyday capable shape. You've got enough chunk and bulk to the handle to give you a full grip without being too much. And other cool details I like as well. I like the ambidextrous quality of the lock and the finger safe closing action of the lock, something I always appreciate. You've also got a 4-position pocket clip, although it may not even look like it. This is 4-way compatible. You can take this clip out and actually mount it through the pivot here for tip down carry. And there is a tip down contingent of people who still look for that type of carry, and it works on either side. That is a cool little detail, and it solves the issue that, some folks do not like having extra pocket clip holes on the front side of their knife. But we appreciate the modularity of being able to move your pocket clip around. So this is a really cool way to get around that, and a really useful knife as well. Next up, we've got the Lion Steel N1, or the Nun, perhaps. So named because where are the screws? Your guess is as good as mine. Well, I know there's one right here. You can actually remove the flipper tab, but apart from that, there are no screws holding this handle together. And I don't mean no visible screws. This is put together without screws. So this is something, a premium knife that's doing something different, is pushing things in a little bit of a more interesting direction than just another run-of-the-mill fantastic premium folder. 557 bucks and change, however, for a small knife. You are gonna pay dearly for the engineering that goes into this knife. 2.56-inch MagnaCut blade, drop point, high flat grind. It's a bit of a stubby thing overall, but it feels super solid in the hand. If you do like the design, the Lion Steel Nano is very similar to this without the fancy construction. You get the more visible screws, but you can get that shape for less money than you can get here, but you're not gonna get that sweet, sweet engineering. Next up, ZT's first auto is the 556 Auto, and it is a pretty great technical achievement, apart from being a very elegant shape. I like that very much. 3.35-inch MagnaCut blade with a drop point, titanium handles with carbon fiber inlays, and very, almost painstakingly slim. Not the slimmest folder on the market, but it's the slimmest side opening auto that I can think of at this point in time. It is very, very impressive. The action on it is quite good, as you can see right there. The button looks nice, the shape is great, the very subtle deep carry pocket clip is nice. Probably the only thing holding it back a little bit for me is I'm not the hugest fan of kind of the orange peel texture on the carbon fiber we've got right here, but slim, elegant, powerful, great materials, very, very cool design for zero tolerance. This next knife is the polar opposite of this slim ZT, and that is the chunky Riot T6000. 497 bucks for this. Thick old blade right there, M390, just over 3 inches long, but it feels like a much more massive knife. Titanium handles with a frame lock, Why is this knife special and different from the other titanium handled frame locks out there? Well, first of all, it is super thick. Second of all, and third of all, you've got two different safety buttons right here that press a rod or press a column of steel into the tang of the knife to give you more security from accidental closure and just more rigidity overall, which is pretty cool. The way you disengage those two posts is pretty cool as well. You simply push on the backspacer right here. It's a little switch, pops them right back out. That is just really cool. Cool to see new things being done. As I mentioned, that's what I kind of remember when we're talking about premium stuff. Speaking of which, Fox continues to do new things and push their radius lock forward with a knife like this, the Metamorphosis. Comes in $293, which is, compared to some of the knives we've shown so far, feels almost like a bargain. M390 steel with this modified Wharncliffe shape, micarta and brass for the handles. And for the first time this year, you've got the radius lock with a flipper tab. Previous versions of this lock, in order to open them, they've typically not had a flipper tab or even thumb studs. You actually have to push down on the button there and rotate it around the pivot right there. But this one opens more conventionally. Feels great. It looks like $1 million. Well, again, I said that before. Nothing actually looks like $1 million these days, but it looks fantastic. Again, a nice finger safe closing action, which I always appreciate. Just feels really, really nice. So rounding out the list of premium folders worthy of note this year, and kind of similar to on the budget side where I kind of gave Real Steel as a brand the win, I'm gonna have to give thanks to Carbon for the win on the premium folder segment. That's Carbon with a K, Ken Onion's new brand, and they are really firing on all cylinders this year. They're hitting some real noteworthy stuff into your stands right now. The first of which is the Buckhorn. Now this version right here is actually the aluminum version of the original titanium. It comes in at $150, which actually means it plays pretty competitively with the mid-tier stuff we looked at today. You know, the steel here is a 14C28N, so you're not gonna get, Magna Cut, levels of performance for your $150, but the sophistication of the handles is really what makes this knife spectacular. Even more so on the titanium version, which has a bit more shine than this aluminum version. But the shape is excellent. The level of detail is astonishingly cool. And that shape is not just for looks. It feels so good in the hand. I mean, ergonomics on a folder is hard. It really is. And to see someone dedicating that, the level of ergonomic consideration you might normally find on a fixed blade to a folder like this is definitely something that catches my attention. It definitely caught the attention of judges at Blade Show West, or Blade Show Atlanta this year, who awarded the original version of this Buckhorn at $270 with a S35 VN blade and titanium handles, Knife Collaboration of the Year. It's a stunning knife. Everything about it feels original, and it's kind of ironic. I just told you about a bunch of premium pocket knives that felt like they were doing something different, pushing technology a little bit in different directions, and yet I'm gonna award the win to a knife that's not quite doing that. It just feels like it's doing the most with the existing format, like more than anyone else, quite honestly. It just feels like they've pushed the envelope in terms of sophistication of construction, perhaps, even if it's not a new technology going on. Just fantastic. And then last but not least, from Carbon, we just started showing this off like a week or two ago when they hit the site, the Smoke Show. This is a superb shape. I am very smitten with this shape overall. $355 for this 3.3-inch M390 blade. Really striking inlay shape going on. Really amazing blade shape. There's something about it. Just even if you were to strip away all the fancy embellishments going on here, just the shape of this knife is the work of a master, the master being Ken Onion. There is so much tension and release in this shape that it's almost achingly gorgeous. And then we throw the embellishments on there that accentuate that tension and that motion without making it look too gaudy or over the top. Chef's kiss. And it's what really put Carbon over the top in terms of the win for me this year. Bravo. But what amongst all these deserves the overall win? I've got some winners from each section. What do I think is deserving of best knife of the year? If Blade Magazine didn't own the rights to the term Blade or Knife of the Year, that would be the category. And like you folks who voted for your wallet, I again have to agree with you. The Kershaw Bel Air is easily and handily the coolest knife of the year for me. I think it's well deserving of the sales success it has achieved because, as mentioned, everything about it feels perfect. The price, the quality, the materials, the design, all of it wrapped up into a package that hit a super amazing little sweet spot for something that people could actually afford, yet felt like more than the sum of its parts. Congratulations, Kershaw, on a knife well done. That's all we've got for right now. What do you think of 2024? What were your favorite knives of the year? I'd love to hear them down in the comments. And this being YouTube, where we encourage enragement, because enragement is engagement, what did I get wrong about this list? Tell me why you think I'm stupid down below. Maybe not, but let's have some fun in the comments, hey? Anyway, if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we're going to leave links in the description, which will take you to KnifeCenter.com. Where don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, in addition to new Sezzle payment options, so you can break things up into 4 payments on some of these more expensive knives if you want to stretch for one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's all for now. Stay tuned for more cool knives in 2025.